Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 16th meeting. Clerk Swope, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Carter. Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein. Here. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Cost. Councilmember Pelivanoglu. Councilmember Spatafor. There are 8 members present, a quorum, and we are to the meditation and pledge of allegiance.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from council that you'd like remembered at this point in time? Councilman Cost.
Thank you, President Garza. If we could keep my family in your thoughts tonight. My dad texted me on my way here that my Uncle Rob, who was a longtime resident of Lansing, passed away a few hours ago. So if we could keep his kids, my cousins in your thought, and his wife, my Aunt Chris, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman Cost. Any additional members have somebody they'd like remembered at this time? Okay, seeing none, we will rise for a moment of meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
You have for approval the December 2nd council proceedings.
Vice President Hussein.
I would move the proceedings as presented.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Any additional comments from council? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
And we are to comments by council members and the city clerk.
Any comments from City Council? Councilman Cost, did you? Ladies first.
Thank you, President Garza and Councilman Cost. Yeah, we do have an announcement here. Happy to report that the at-large council members have decided to move forward in the coming year, 2025, with constituent contact meetings. We did consult the calendars of regularly scheduled constituent contact meetings for each ward member. And so I'd like to announce that our first meeting will be held Saturday, January 25th, 2025, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Capital Regional Airport, located at 4100 Capital City Boulevard. There will be free parking and refreshments provided. The plan moving forward is to hold one meeting in each ward throughout the coming year. All are welcome to attend at each meeting. These are put on by your at-large members, and we are happy to hear your voice and hear from you as we move into the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just got to make one comment on that. If more than 4 people are there, this is a question of City Attorney, is that a quorum violation?
That's correct. 5 is the, excuse me, 5 is the number to avoid.
Okay. All right, Councilman Cost.
Yeah. Thank you, President Garza. I just wanted to announce that there is a post-caroling afterglow fundraiser Sunday, December 22nd from 7 to 9 at Sleepwalker Spirits and Ale. That's 1101 South Washington. That's in Rio Town. There is going to be pizza and fun, and it will be money to be raised for the First Presbyterian Food Pantry, which is one of the busiest in Lansing. So if you can attend, again, that's at Sleepwalker in Old Town, Sunday, December 22nd from 7 to 9.
Okay, Councilman Spatafor.
It's the end of the year, so I just wanted to say on behalf of myself, and I won't speak for anyone else, but thank you to our leadership this year for running the meetings and running our agendas and keeping us informed. It's been an interesting year and a good year, and I appreciate the work that council members Garza and Hussein put into the presidency and vice presidency this year. So thank you.
Any additional comments from council? Vice President Hussein.
Yep, just a couple quick ones. First, the Churchill Downs Community Association will be having their holiday party tomorrow. That's at 6:30 p.m. At 5825 Wise Road. Certainly hope folks get out there. This is a long-standing tradition in the Churchill Downs Community Association. And so they are asking for residents of the neighborhood to come out, to bring a family member, a neighbor, a dish to pass if able, but that's certainly not a requisite to coming. Secondly, our first constituent contact meeting of 2025 in the 3rd Ward will be January 11th, 10 to 12 noon. That's at 5825 Wise Road, which is the Elfrida Schmidt Southside Community Center. We will actually have Mr. Alan Fox, our Ingham County Treasurer, on hand. Hopefully, our calendars are still in alignment. We'll also have Commissioners Morgan and Johnson with us to talk a little bit about the recently passed housing and homeless millage, as well as the failed lodging excise tax increase, which would have been an increase from 5 to 8%. So they'll be there to discuss that. Of course, we always have a number of area representatives and things of that nature to talk about other things happening across the region. And then we always kind of have a hyper focus that last hour on Southwest Lansing and the things that are happening, should be happening, aren't happening, but should be happening. So on and so forth. So in any event, hopefully we'll see you there. And then I also wanted to thank actually Councilman Garza. I thought you were a consensus builder this year. I thought you ran good meetings. I certainly appreciate the fact that we were able to proceed through 2024 without any gridlock. I think we did a lot of good work as a body. And then I also want to thank the small but mighty staff on the 10th floor, that being obviously Sherry, Renee Richmond, as well as our new internal auditor, Mr. Charles Randall. This body really appreciated the work this year as one part of the leadership team. And then our city attorney's office, city clerk, administration, everything that those folks do to support us. But I think probably most importantly, the hardworking citizens that call themselves employees, folks that aren't necessarily citizens of the city, but are employees, all working, I think, day in, day out to really advance our city. So thanks to all. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. I, too, want to thank council. It's been a collaborative year. I appreciate all the new faces and the hard work that they put in since January 1. I also want to thank our staff, Sherry, Renee, and our new internal auditor, Charles Randall. Been very helpful and successful making council run as a one solid body. I want to thank Clerk Swope and his staff. They've been very helpful with us as well. And city attorney, our new city attorney, as well as his team. Thank you for having our meetings every Monday prior to council and keeping us informed of what's going on with our city. And thanks for everybody that comes out every week to show their pretty faces. I see a few of them here today. And happy holidays, everybody. And looking forward to 2025.
Thank you. And I do want to thank Lexi Hodges, who has been our intern the past few months. Originally, we actually have another intern who, her name is Emma, and she had some transportation issues. So she's been working on council stuff remotely. But Lexi was also a records intern and filled in double duty, helping out with the council meeting. So I appreciate her. But tonight is her last night with us as she's her internship is ending, so thank you, Lexi. And with that, we are to community event announcements. If anyone in the audience has a community event, we'll give you 1 minute to tell us the details.
Today, the Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries celebrated the 5th year of operating the Cemetery Courtesy Office with their volunteer staff. And we are also in the process of running a silent auction on our Facebook page, Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries, for all those history buffs, auto buffs, cemetery buffs, people who you never know what to buy for. You could put a bid in for a silent auction chance to win an inside of the mausoleum tour of Ariole's mausoleum. Over the years, we've had numerous people ask us how could they get inside there and see inside that mausoleum, and the answer always was, you cannot. They don't allow it, especially after it was grave robbed in the 1990s. But the family has generously and graciously agreed to let us run this silent auction. The winner will have up to 1 hour inside the mausoleum with up to 4 people, with no cameras, audio, or video inside. They'll be able to do those things outside, but not inside. So the bids are on the Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries Facebook page.
Thank you. Any other community events?
So, the Old Everett Neighborhood Association will be hosting a neighborhood meeting on January 15th. That is actually the third Wednesday of January, but that's because one of our board members is going to be away for the week prior. So, it will be at the same location, 3525 South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Suite G, Village Lansing, at 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Just note that the positions of Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer, Communications Director, as well as board member positions for Kavanaugh and Kenyon precincts have yet to be filled in. So if you are interested in those positions and you feel you might be right for those positions, please consider applying for them so you can get elected to them so that we can have a full board.
Thank you. Any other community events? All right, then we are to registration for public comment on legislative matters, and legislative matters does include on the agenda items 3 through 18. We'll give you about another minute to sign in with Lexi in the back, and with that, we are to the mayor's comments.
Executive Assistant, do you have any comments for the mayor?
No comments tonight, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we are to public comment on legislative matters. First, we have Ingham County Treasurer Alan Fox, followed by Nicholas Zandy.
Thank you, members of the council. Item 14 on the agenda is the city rejecting transferred property as a result of the annual foreclosure process. And that's on consent for good reason. It's usually not controversial, but I wanted to use the opportunity to report to the council on what the 2024 tax foreclosure cycle looked like. In Ingham County as a whole, there were only 45 properties foreclosed for failure to pay taxes. That's a record low. 35 of those were in the city. That's also a record low. Of those 35, there were 19 residential structures. Most of those, if they weren't abandoned, they should have been. There's one small commercial building that had an adjacent vacant lot that was a separate parcel. We combined those into a single parcel, and 14 additional vacant lots in residential areas. No other commercial property, no industrial property, nothing very large. 2 of the residential structures we were able to withhold from the tax auction and get them directly to Eastside Community Action, which is already in the process of renovating them for potential home buyers in the programming that ECAC has. The remaining 33 were auctioned. Early in the process, before the auction occurs, the city has to positively act in order to claim property that it needs or wants for public purposes. At this stage in the process, where we've gone through 2 auctions, the city has to reject property or it comes automatically to the city, and obviously encourage you to reject them. These 6 properties will go to the Ingham County Land Bank at the end of the year after they're rejected. Those remaining properties include one structure on North MLK that we, both the Land Bank and the Treasurer's Office, looked at and believe has to be demolished. We have a state grant already in hand to do that demolition, and that'll take place sometime in the spring or early summer, and 5 additional vacant lots. That's in recent years fairly typical of what gets through the auction. We like increasingly to say that the land bank gets nothing that has any value, because there's so many opportunities for people who do find some value in the property to get it earlier in the process. So the city, by its rejection tonight, will ensure that those 6 properties go to the land bank. We're continuing to do in the Treasurer's Office the things we've been doing for the past few years to cut down on the number of tax foreclosures, to keep people in their houses. That's the most efficient way is to keep people where they are and not throw them out on the street and look for other housing at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Nicholas Zandy, followed by Jody Washington.
So I'm going to speak on items 10 through 12 because which is about Alex Price, or Priest, I don't care how you pronounce his last name, and his many fees. And a lot of that has to do with the red tag crisis that's been going on, which you've heard me talk about it quite a bit, and honestly, I'm honestly befuddled that there is so much of that going on that could have easily been prevented had there either been someone to help or if landlords actually did their jobs. To say this on how I think the situation around red tags should be handled, if it's a landlord property, then yes, the landlords absolutely should be punished because they should definitely have been keeping up with their property more often than not. And if they're not, that's definitely a failed leadership on their part, and they got to pay the price for that. But if it's a normal resident, I'd say they should at least be helped along before the situation escalates to a certain point. Because the fact that he's got to pay about, I think about maybe $4,000, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. But the fact he has to pay up to that shows that it probably was ignored for so long that it ended up escalating to this point. And there should have been a system more in place to prevent the situation from actually escalating to this point. I don't know fully about the situation. I don't know, what caused it to escalate. Apparently, it's because of trash or something like that, or property upkeep. But what I do know is that, again, there should have been measures put in place to prevent the situation from escalating to this point. It is something that shouldn't have escalated to this point, but yet it did because people were ignoring the problem. Maybe the owner was ignorant of the problem. Sure, yes, but the city was also ignorant of the problem until it escalated, and it just sort of escalated to the point where now it's completely unavoidable. Because especially when you've got stuff like health issues, you really shouldn't be avoiding health issues until it becomes unavoidable. You can't wait for it to escalate. You've got to do something to prevent it from spreading. That's the same thing with red tag properties. You cannot let it escalate to the point. You got to help them at some point, with landlords, they deserve punishment, but if this situation is just a random resident, which I think this is, there should have been ways to help the person along the way so that it didn't escalate to this point, and so that there could have been something that could have prevented the fees from going as high as they did. That's all I'll say, and I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Next is Jody Washington and then David Ellis.
Thank you. I stand here to advocate for the transformative potential of the New Vision Lansing project, a monumental $300 million plus investment spanning over 602,000 square feet of development, which includes 573 apartments, commercial, office, and retail space. Projects like these, encompassing Washington Square, the Tower of the Grand, the Ingham Building, and the Old Town development, represent a bold step toward revitalizing a downtown and beyond that has long been dormant. While our region thrives, Lansing urban core struggles. I would say it's rotting. A city's heart should beat with energy, commerce, and connection, but ours feels neglected, lacking the vibrancy that sustains a thriving community. A few isolated attractions like the infamous Big Red Ball might bring brief curiosity, but it won't replace the essential need for cohesive, comprehensive right redevelopment. This project is not just about adding buildings or filling empty lots. It's about creating spaces where people live, work, shop, and gather, a catalyst for lasting economic growth and community revitalization. Imagine 573 families and professionals choosing downtown Lansing as their home. Picture businesses flourishing in modern office spaces. Envision locals and visitors alike strolling vibrant streets, supporting local shops and restaurants. We've seen cities across the country transformed by such investments. Think Grand Rapids and Detroit. Why not us? This isn't merely a proposal for infrastructure, it's a vision for our future. It's an opportunity to reverse decades of decline and make Lansing a destination, a place where we can be proud to call home. We need your support to bring this vision to life. Let's work together, make sure our downtown isn't just a memory, but a modern, bustling hub of innovation, culture, and opportunity. We must move this city forward and in a different direction before it's too late. And I just want to say one thing. I know there was some kickback from some individuals. I'm going to tell you what, one of these days, I hope one of our developers has the spine to turn around and walk away. We have a city of people that think they should tell people how to spend their money and what they need to do with it. And we can no longer afford to let these types be roadblocks for our progress. And we're coming up next year, it's an election year. I hope to God those of you that are up for election do not use that day to campaign, because it gets really boring. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have David Ellis, followed by Leanne Zimney.
Hi, David Ellis, downtown Lansing resident. First off, I want to speak in support of the brownfield redevelopment for the New Vision Lansing project. I think I spoke enough on it at the last meeting, but just to recap, I think it's a fantastic project, and I think it's absolutely warranted that it has this brownfield go through. I don't want to pick fights with anyone, but I do understand absolutely the concerns about lack of public engagement with this. That's not what a brownfield is for. That is not what this funding is for. That's an unrelated issue. It would be great to have public engagement. That is a separate thing, and to try to use that, hold this money over their head for that, they're two completely unrelated things. They shouldn't be related at all in my mind. Regardless, it's a wonderful project and it deserves a yes vote. The other thing I want to talk about is the demolition. I'm going to struggle with this. The Weed building, the Walter Neller building on the corner of Grand and Allegan, you know the one, we all know the one, the window that fell out and hit the guy, and then they put styrofoam over the windows, which then all immediately blew off. I've seen make safe or demolish orders printed on this building for the majority of this year. I think I've been seeing papers there since, April? I think there was a 30-day make safe or demolish since April. They've had enough time. They've had everything they've deserved. This building has been falling apart for as long as I've probably been conscious. I can't stress enough how horrible this is. And then they own the parking lot next to it, which has been vacant for longer than any of me or my siblings have been alive. It's been vacant for longer than my family has lived in the city of Lansing. They have proven themselves to be horrible stewards of the land that they occupy in downtown. They do not maintain it. They do not promote good city values. They do not do anything with it. They squander it. They waste Lansing's potential. They waste, over these years, probably millions of dollars of missed tax revenue because it's been nothing but an asphalt lot. They don't deserve a second of breath of our time at this point. I don't want to hear another word about Summit or IPM or Granger or any of the different names that they run this business under. I don't want to see another development from them. I don't want to see another property from them. I want to see City Council to even go as far as to figure out ways to punish developers who do what they have done, because this is disgusting. So please just steamroll through with this. There is nothing left to discuss on it. Tear down this building. It has been long enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Leanne Zimney, followed by Lindsay LeBlanc.
Good evening. I am Leanne Zimney, and tonight I come regarding the Transformational Brownfield Plan Number 87 as a board member representing the 28-unit on the Grand condominiums on Turner Street. We're next door to the New Vision Lansing's proposed Old Town project, planned to begin in 2026. Our property owners range from some relatively new buyers to many who have lived at this development for over 20 years. The entire On the Grand board met in person with Paul and John Genelosi this month. with additional Zoom participants, including our past president, a board member in waiting, and several other property owners. Our interest in this proposal is high. The Genelozis have also met twice, I think, with the Old Town Commercial Association. Once that included on the Grand Board representation. With us, the Genelozis have been open and generous with their time and plans, responding to each of our questions. The On the Grand Board feels we have open lines of communication. We're confident that we will be able to work together as details are considered. We urge City Council to approve all 5 addresses in the request with no delay on any, especially the 5th component, the Old Town piece. We understand this investment in Old Town is Old Town's opportunity to clean toxic waste in Old Town. This will be the largest investment in Old Town redevelopment ever. And it's with a cooperative developer who's deeply committed to improving downtown and Old Town and working with the Old Town community to ensure an outcome that benefits the entire community. We believe the Old Town development is an exciting opportunity to infuse Old Town with more residents. These people will attract more stores, restaurants, community services, and grow the customer base for Old Town's existing commercial enterprises. The new rental housing will allow more people to live, work, attend festivals, shop, and dine in Old Town with their cars parked in the development, not on the street, so there'll still be room for each of you. Please pass the entire plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker for this portion is Lindsay LeBlanc.
Thank you. My name is Lindsay LeBlanc. I'm the Director of Development for Granger Group. We're the parent company that owns the Walter Neller building and the adjacent Servit lot. Some background, the Granger family has long and deep ties in the city of Lansing. The Walter Neller building was a gift to Gary Granger from his father. And the intention has always been to redevelop that corner of Michigan and Grand into something special. It was mentioned that the building has been on the demo or make safe list since 2016. During that time frame, the Granger Group has brought several redevelopment opportunities to the city that have been denied or weakly supported, as the city's economy has continued to shrink, making redevelopment difficult. This is a predominant corner in downtown Lansing. We're not going to tear down the building and put it up another surface lot or a 2-story office building. In fact, this site has enough significance that Downtown Lansing, Inc. invested in a redevelopment plan which highlights 122 South Grand as a key redevelopment location. Last week, one of your council members commented that it must not be that important if we've let the building sit and rot. Well, the answer is yes. We'd rather keep that property as is until we have a project worthy of the location. With all that being said, we hear you. The time has come that something needs to be done with the building, and we're not arguing that point. We are in the middle of getting a contract signed to have that demoed. It will be done by March. I had a request to the committee last week, and I'm going to make that request again tonight. The good news is that we do feel confident enough in the market to move forward with a new project. We're working with Downtown Lansing, Inc. and Lansing Brownfield Redevelopment Authority on a 2-phase project, focusing first on the Allegan and Grand, coming back in 2 to 3 years to focus on the Michigan and Grand site. From where we stand today until we break ground, we're looking at a 10 to 12 month long development process. It would be least disruptive to the city and, in truth, more cost effective for us if we could get a waiver from the city to keep the foundations in place until we start construction next fall on a new building. I understand that there is not, I understand There's not a process or procedure for this. You will need to get creative. We have offered putting up a bond that would cover the cost of removing the basement if the project does not come to fruition within a certain time frame. We're meeting your demands and taking down the building. We ask that you please work with us so that we can move forward making something special in downtown Lansing, which I'm pretty sure everyone in this room wants. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our final speaker, so we are to the consent agenda.
Vice President Hussein.
Sure. On tonight's consent agenda, there are several topics, so bear with me. The first is a resolution of grant acceptance for Priority Health and National Fitness Campaign Grant for an outdoor gym at Davis Park. Thank you, Tierston, for your advocacy. I see you in the gallery. Number 4 is a resolution of grant acceptance for the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards, or MCOLS Community Policing Grant. We also have a resolution of grant acceptance, Office of Highway Safety Planning Grant for message signs, a resolution of grant acceptance for Firearms Prohibition Enforcement Project. We had the chief in earlier tonight from Lansing Fire Department to talk about number 7. This is a grant acceptance, a safer grant acceptance, which stands for Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. This would allow for us to hire an additional 15 firefighters. We also have a resolution of workers' compensation settlement claim number WC 206-2876-01759-001. We have several resolutions that deal with claim appeals. The first is number 2064. This is for Colette Warren for $755 in trash fees at 524 Avon Street. We have another one, claim number 2112 for Alexander Priest for $475 in board-up fees at 4417 Ballard Road. The same claim at Alexander Priest, claim number 2111 for $1,050 in trash fees at 4417 Ballard Road. We also have a resolution of claim appeal, claim number 2109 from Alexander Priest, and that is for $2,629 in trash fees at 4417 Ballard Road. We have a resolution for outside legal counsel for Whites and Luxembourg, PC, to represent the city in the matter of insulin pricing litigation of the city of Lansing versus Purdue Pharma, LP et al. We have number 14, which was spoken to earlier by Mr. Alan Fox. This is an objection to the transfer of all unsold tax-reverted properties from the Ingham County Treasurer to the city of Lansing. And lastly, we have a resolution dealing with Act 5, 2022, for the purchase of property at 927 South Grand Avenue, which is an addition to River Point Park, to increase access to the river trail. So with that, I would move the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Vice President. Do we have any additional comments from council? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
We're to resolutions for action for item 16, the transformational brownfield.
Vice President Hussein.
Sure. We've spoken, about this at length. We've had public hearings. We've had people at the podium tonight pretty much give us the development summary, and so that we can consider and potentially ask questions or make comments. I'm going to move this resolution pertaining to the transformational brownfield plan number 87, New Vision Lansing, that pertains to multiple addresses, 5 to be specific. Thanks.
All right, thank you. We do have a proper motion in place. Any additional comments or questions from council? Councilman Spatafor.
Again, thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the Genelozis and everyone that's worked on this to get questions answered. I was able to meet with Old Town and folks down there. Councilmember Cost specifically, too, was very instrumental in those meetings. But they answered questions. They met with folks. They showed a willingness to be a partner in all of this. And I think that's demonstrative of the history this company and this family has in the city, and I appreciate that. I approached this with some skepticism when we first heard of evolution in the plans and changing and things like that, and I was able to have a really in-depth conversation with Mr. Genelosi and get all the questions answered, and know that their commitment to this project is huge. And one of our public commenters said this is going to be huge for downtown. I myself just moved my office downtown from the suburbs, and there was a dearth of that middle ground of office space to find for places like what I was looking for, and I know residents looking to move downtown, all of our developments are filling up quickly, and it's going to be huge for this downtown area. It's not one thing, this is 5 things. Old Town, I'm very excited about what they're doing, and I know it's a unique part of our community, and I think that the Genelosi family is learning how to work in that community and have committed to working alongside the Old Town businesses, the neighbors in Old Town, to make sure that it is a smooth process to make a new addition to that Turner Street. So I'm excited for this. Can't wait to see the structures go vertical and the residents move in.
Thank you. Do we have any additional comments from council? Councilman Jackson.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief with my unpopular opinion, and that this is a more difficult decision for me. One, because I do appreciate the transformative nature and all of the nice 5 projects, 4 downtowns that probably will be built and it probably will serve their purpose. And I appreciate everybody's work on that, except the reason why I can't fully support it is because out of those 573 new units, none are for voucher holders or Section 8 holders. I do appreciate Mr. Gentilosi's comments that he did speak with somebody about that and says for the record that a person with a voucher can use it. However, I just feel like that wasn't contemplated from the beginning, and people with all this growth is happening, but there's so many people with a Section 8 voucher that can't use it because there's no places for them. They're checking, they're good people and everything. So if we have these new five developments and none of them have that space, we're still further locking people out from downtown. There's already the state parking lots, the state buildings, and now the only new residential areas will probably lock them out. Even a very micro example of that came up in our discussions when there was a comment about the homeless people that live kind of underneath the River Trail Bridge in the area that's going to get developed, and whether it's being blight or whatever. For example, those people are not going to live there anymore. They're going to find some other place to put their spot up. So that's a small example, not the example, and I just wanted to have my dissent on the record just because I think it's important. And if these places aren't contemplated from the beginning, when one of these affordable housing brownfields comes up, nobody's really in support of it because it's not transformative, but at the same time, it doesn't get the ball moving for housing for people who need it. So that's why I won't support it, but thank you for what it will do for Lansing.
Any additional comments from council? Vice President Hussein.
Yeah, just once again, I want to kind of underscore my support. I think this is an exciting day for the city of Lansing. This type of investment does not come around. I mean, frankly, it's never come around here in the city of Lansing. Even when you talk about site-specific investments like the one that is being contemplated for Old Town, it's never happened before. And so incredibly exciting. I think you couple this with the new City Hall. I think you couple this with the ovation. You couple this with the conversion of this building. And I think, and there's a number of other things coming down the pike that are exciting. And of course, these things, until we get them across the goal line are proposals at this point. But I truly believe that in 10 years, downtown, in a good way, will be unrecognizable. The other piece is that this is, the economic impact of this is huge. And so when we talk about, as an example, some of the city's most vulnerable, we have to make sure in order to take care of our most vulnerable in a real way that helps them to ascend, that our bottom line is strong. And I'm just going to give you one example. It's estimated that we'll bring in on an annual basis about about $1 million a year in income taxes just from the people that actually live on these properties. And so that puts us in a better position when we're talking about our general fund coffers, puts us in a better position to actually support the folks throughout the city of Lansing as we work to advance People's Station. And so incredibly exciting. We certainly appreciate all the work that went into this, all the different parties that worked on this, council members and the like. So thank you, Gentilozzi and co. Thank you to the LEDC, the administration, the city attorney's office, this city council, all of the folks throughout the city of Lansing that have really worked, I think, to educate themselves on this and provide input, I think really constructive input to this body. But again, I'm incredibly excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from council? Okay, we do have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Okay, we are to item 17, make safe or demolish for 122 South Grand Avenue.
Councilman Cost.
Thank you, President Garza. Quickly, I'll just go over some of the particulars. As is stated, it's 122 South Grand Avenue, commonly known as the Walter Neller Building. We had, excuse me, I'm still getting over a cold. We had them 12:10 at the Committee on Public Safety. At that meeting, I believe code suggestion was 60 days. Lindsay from the Granger Group was there at that meeting and at the time had shared that they believed it was a highly valuable property. They had asked the same question that was asked tonight about doing a waiver to preserve the foundation. Legal did tell us that there is no mechanism for that under state, because this is a state mandated, state law, how this process plays out. The recommendation from the EDP was, again, 60 days to make safe or demolish. The plan that they had shared with us at the time was to have something start with construction October of 25. The committee felt and voted 2-0 to move forward with the 60 days that this building has been sitting since 2016. That was the original red tag date on the paperwork, that it's time to move forward with this property and not continue to drag our feet. So the resolution is for a 60-day make safe or demolish order. And I would move it.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Are there any additional comments from council? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Okay, we are to ordinances for introduction. We have an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend Chapter 206 of the Lansing Codified Ordinances, Section 206.16, preference for local bidders to remove the upper threshold of 1 million and further clarify what bidders may have the opportunity to match the lowest qualifying bid from a non-Lansing bidder. The ordinance is read a first time by its title and referred to the Committee on City Operations.
Councilman Cost.
Thank you, President Garza. I am going to be hoarse through this yet again. So a few months ago, we had a member from a union come that they had missed work on one of our projects. The issue was they weren't considered a local bidder because their shop, they're headquartered in Flint, but they were going to use Lansing subcontractors, folks that lived here in the city. So we took a look at the ordinance on local preference, and what we did is we took that threshold, that $1 million threshold amount cap, took it off of there so they can bid on any one of these projects to match non-Lansing bidders. And we also, clarified what a Lansing-based bidder is to include Lansing subcontractors if they're using citizens of Lansing to do this work. So what this does is it further strengthens our resolution on support for residents and making sure that we're, if we have a company that may not necessarily be headquartered here, but are using people that are out of Lansing, that we're using our own local labor folks. Union, non-union, doesn't matter. Local folks is, what we wanted to key in on. So this is what the changes are with this, and we would set a public hearing January 13th. So I would move,
Okay.
set a public hearing.
Okay, we got a proper motion in place. Any additional comments from council? Seeing none. All right, all those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. That's the yellow sheet in the back. If you wish to address city council, we'll give you another minute to sign in. And in the meantime, we're to referral items.
Vice President Hussein.
I would move that all items be considered as read in full and the appropriate referrals be made by you, President Garza.
Okay, thank you. We have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, we have minutes of boards and commissions.
Placed on file.
The Board of Water Light Annual Audit.
Committee of the Whole, Internal Auditor.
Lansing Fire Department Annual Report.
Placed on file.
LEPFA Financial Statements.
Committee of the Whole and Internal Auditor.
And we have from the mayor items 23 through 52 are a large number of orders to make safe or demolish for various addresses across the city, along with the resolution to set a show cause hearing on those.
Those will go to public safety.
And we're to setting and approving a noise special permit for the combined sewer overflow 015 South project,
Committee of the Whole.
and the issuance of sewage disposal system revenue bonds.
Committee of the Whole.
The appointment of Christina Campbell to the Saginaw Street Corridor Improvement Authority.
Development and Planning.
From the Ad Hoc Committee on Audit, amend Council Rule 16, standing committees to establish the Committee on Municipal Audits.
City Operations.
And Communications and Petitions, we have a notice from the Liquor Control Commission for a new SDM license at 726 East Michigan Avenue.
City Operations.
And remarks by council members.
Any additional remarks from council? Seeing no further remarks.
Additional remarks by the mayor.
No remarks for the mayor.
Okay, we are to public comment on city government-related matters. We have first Joan Eller, followed by Andy Markovich.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Neller. I'm here on behalf of Simtob Management, an affordable housing developer and property management company headquartered here in Lansing, Michigan. I'm happy to report that as of the end of November, all Simtob management properties have been issued valid rental certificates by the city of Lansing. This is a significant milestone since almost every property acquired by Simtob were red tagged and had been without rental certificates for anywhere between 5 to 10 years. The company is proud to finally return these properties to clean, safe, and legal affordable options, housing options for Lansing residents. Since 2022, no other private developer has cleared more red tags than Simtob Management. This was done with millions of dollars of investment, without any tax credit or abatement programs, and a lot of time and hard work by Simtob Management employees in partnership with Lansing city officials. We want to thank Mayor Shore and his administration, including Economic Development and Planning Director Raleigh Van Fossen, Deputy Director Nicholas Montree, and the entire Building Safety Office and Code Enforcement staff for their work, including lead housing inspectors Tom Berry and Meredith Johnson. We also want to thank the entire City Council, but a special thank you to Council members Kost, Hussein, and Pelivanoglu, who were particularly engaged on these issues. We are grateful that Councilmember Kost allowed us to provide updates this year during the Committee on Public Safety as these projects progress through the timeline, and we appreciate his leadership on making Lansing a clean and safe community for everyone. We know that red tags and affordable housing have been important issues in the city of Lansing, and we expect these discussions to continue into 2025. We would like to offer our experience as a resource to anyone that is concerned about addressing these important issues, and we hope we can continue to be a part of the solution in the city of Lansing. Anyone interested to learn more about Simtob Management Properties can visit www.flatsliving.com. That's flats with a Z, F-L-A-T-Z, living.com. The website has exterior and interior pictures of the properties, including virtual tours of the newly renovated units. Interested residents can see available vacancies and average rent rates of $850 per month, which is well below the market average, and we do accept Section 8 vouchers. We appreciate the City of Lansing and everyone that helped contribute to the success in 2024. We look forward to growing on the success in 2025 and wish you all the best during the holiday season and for the new year. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Andy Markovich, followed by David Ellis.
Hello, I'm Andy Markovich. Touching on the subject of red tags. I've noticed there's a lot of red tags in the city and stuff, and I think there should be a multi-level red tag situation where if somebody gets a red tag in their home, they shouldn't be evicted that day. They should have due process through court. The city should be able to take that, or they have a multi-level tagging system where they're not throwing people out of their homes and making them homeless. There's been a lot of people that's been made homeless over red tag issues. So I think the red tag system itself needs to be overhauled and brought into like a multi-tier system. And I have an old story about an old man, Roy Jones, that had his home. This is many, many years ago. Doesn't involve anything that's going on currently or this board. This is way back in the day. So old man Roy Jones had his home red tagged. He was unable to make repairs and get it fixed. So what happened, his home with all his living and his personal property, everything he had, got destroyed, got demolitioned. He lost his home, lost his property, because he obviously can't pay for the demolition, so it goes on his taxes. So that old man ended up living in a ambulance, and that winter he died in that ambulance. So that's a sad story of the red tag system. That's why I like to see it changed and improved upon. There's money that the red tag system charges landlords or homeowners monthly to be red tagged, somewhere in the neighborhood on, I think, $157 a month for each home. That money should be used to help homeowners to develop a grant program to help fix those red tag homes. People can't always afford to fix everything or fix what they need to get fixed, so they need help. So I think if the council, the zone, or you know what I mean. So if we'll start with the council. If we can develop a program to help grants or even interest-free loans or whatever to homeowners, not saying landlords so much because, you know, they're landlords. They got their own home that they can take care of. But anyways, sorry, I'm not good at speeches, so I'm doing this on the wing. Doing the best I can. So I'd like to see some type of program to help homeowners with red tag issues. Maybe they can make a yellow tag where they can still live there and get the stuff and get repairs done in a certain amount of time that they can afford in their budgets. So that's all I got to say about that. Thank you for your time, council.
Thank you. Next is David Ellis, followed by Nicholas Zandy.
David Ellis, downtown Lansing resident. So I just want to thank you all for voting to pass that brownfield for the New Vision Lansing project. Like I said before, I think it's great for downtown. I've been talking to these meetings for a long time now, and I sound like a broken record a lot. I understand that, but really, the gist of what I always try to get at is that the downtown area is a place that I want people to live. We need people to live. People want to live here, and we need to work to make it a nicer place to live. That should be the focus. That should be the goal of a lot of this stuff, is it should be to make downtown a place that you want to live. When we make decisions about downtown, the focus should be, okay, we just need to constantly ask ourselves the question over and over, okay, but does this make it a nicer place to live? Does this make it a nicer place for people to actually spend time in? Can we make it so, typically with the rest of the city, and at any city across the U.S., what a downtown is versus the rest of the city, you have your store, which is a location, you have your work, which is a location, you have park, which is a location, and these are bubbles that are connected by lines that are you driving. That is how cities around the U.S. work. It is isolated locations you access by your car. Downtowns are always different. The point of them is that it is a transient space. The downtown in and of itself is a location. You in your house stepping out onto the road and walking down to the shop is you passing through a destination in the same way you walk from your TV room in your house through maybe a dining room, maybe an office, to your kitchen, which is another location in your house. It's all just a transient space. That is what we need to be focusing on with improving downtown. This year, we have done a lot of good things with the housing, and the passing this brownfield has been a huge step to wrapping up this year wonderfully. And everything else, it seems like we have sort of fallen short. We've done some good things with the ovation and stuff, but of course I'm going to come back to pointing out things like pedestrian safety and cycling and actually making downtown neighborhood a place that you live in and not just a place you pass through. So far this year, I've seen 2 different intersections in downtown be made less safe because of the Public Service Department reworking intersections for pedestrians. I have seen them put up signs on Ottawa and Allegan, roads that never had speed limit signs, for 35 miles an hour. So Ottawa, one of the heaviest pedestrianized streets in the entire mid-Michigan region, now has a higher speed limit than Michigan Avenue. So this is where I'm going to ask for, I know you can't do much about it, but please, Mayor Shore, who I am not able to look at, direct your Public Service Department to do better next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nicholas Zandy, followed by Linda Epling.
I think that might be the quickest I ever came to this podium. Saying that, again, this is Nicholas Zandy, from a leader and a resident of the Old Everett neighborhood. And I want to speak again about what someone has mentioned about at-large constituency meetings. All I can say, while I appreciate the effort, I'd say it's a little, too late, because considering there's a city charter commission going on and there are arguments about how the wards and the at-large seats should be oriented, and many of them are considered, and some of them, rightly so, are considering getting rid of the at-large, or at least reducing it. And one of the things I need to be absolutely clear about is I have nothing personally against any of the at-large council members, okay? Some of them even come to our neighborhood meetings. What I do have against is the positions themselves. Now, I don't know fully whether or not that racism or the Red Scare had much to do with it, but considering that they were created during the 50s, might be an indication that something like that something fishy might be afoot on that part. And by the way, the library did confirm that they do indeed have archives of those charter commissions from the 50s and the 70s, I think. So they do have information on whether or not there may have been so they probably do have motivations and information on the motivations slipped on. But the thing is, even still, regardless of motivations, I'll just speak about the second ward first and foremost, because if you look at the second ward, I mean, it's not one blob or anything, regardless of what anyone else might say. Just, you go over to Forest View. In Forest View, it's mostly just wide open, kind of rural. In fact, there's even farmland in there. Like, Lansing isn't entirely urbanized, and Forest View is a good example of that. Then you look at Old Everett. It is a gigantic neighborhood, which has about 10,000 residents, which, if this were 9 wards, might be enough to actually become a ward in its own right. It has so many shopping centers right up the middle and so much residential stuff that they are clearly not the same as someone like Forest View. They are clearly 2 different neighborhoods, and yet they're part of the same ward. Then you look at down on the south side, where there's so many shopping centers there. I don't think we have the same kind of shopping centers up in Old Everett or in Forest View. They're, again, clearly not the same. And around Willoughby Road, just south of the highway, they're almost isolated from the rest of the ward because of the highway. And also right next to that, there's a, well, I think that's in the 3rd ward jurisdiction, but there's a neighborhood with a population of literally no one because it had to get evacuated. But still, it is almost isolated, so we should consider getting rid of at-large.
Thank you. Next, we have Linda Epling as our final speaker. For the year.
Well, yes, I may be the final speaker for the year, but don't worry, I'll be back next year. I promise you. Today, what I would like to discuss, and I'm extremely concerned about the current tax situation in the city, especially on me. 1, I've heard a lot of discussion in terms of brownfields. Where does the money come from to fund a brownfield? Where is that tax coming from? It appears to me to be funneled by tax revenue obtained from passage of public transportation. On such a provision, we, the city taxpayers, are not allowed to have an up or down vote in terms of where our money is going. I'm voting for public transportation. I don't want 1 cent of that money to go outside of public transportation. This is absurd. And money is there, and then it appears that the money in terms of the public transportation is somehow taken out of that pot and sent to, I don't know, Brownstone. I have never quite understand the mystery of that particular provision in terms of its transfers. To be blunt about it, and I'll state it again, such provisions should be rejected. The money that I vote for in terms of public transportation should not be used for something else. I want to use for public transportation. I want people to be able to get on that bus and not have to pay. That's what I'm voting for. I am not voting to give money to somebody to get rich. I'm really not. Too many, in terms of that, too many people use or misuse, as far as I'm concerned, my tax money. I think that the city should not fund the various projects from the transportation fund. If it's not directly related to transportation, it should not be funded from that particular fund. If you want taxes to be used to fund other things, then have an up and down vote. Don't screw the people of this city. Be clear about it. Stop messing with us. Oh, and by the way, I think we should have the current structure in terms of our council. I don't have any problems with it.
Thank you.
Okay, with no further business on the agenda, I'd like to say happy holidays, happy new year. We are adjourned.